I never thought I'd return to Mars, but I am so glad to be wrong. Hey folks, my name is Pravus, and welcome to Surviving Mars Relaunched. For those who have not been paying attention, this is not simply a graphical remaster of the Surviving Mars we all know and love. This is Haemimont Games, the original developers taking back up the mantle, and they are making some improvements and adding new content to the game. I'll cover all of that in just a moment, but first and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to Paradox Interactive for sponsoring today's video and getting me the early access. I am obviously very excited to be getting into things again today. So if you want to learn more about Surviving Mars Relaunched, there will be a link in the description down below. And if you choose to buy the game through the Paradox store that-a-way, you can also support me and my channel at the same time, which would obviously be very much appreciated. So go ahead and check that out. Now, obviously, what you guys are here for today is another maximum difficulty run with all of the new features, am I right? Well, I am happy to oblige. But you should be aware that I am playing on a version of the game slightly before release, which means all the cool release day unlocks aren't available for me right now, including some sponsors, which means we're going to have a slightly different game than you are used to. I do not have access to Paradox Interactive as a sponsor in the game, not out of game. They are my sponsor. You get the idea. Normally we would play with them because it gives you the highest challenge rating. Since they're gone, I have to go for the next highest on the list, which is going to be Russia. And we've never played with them on the channel before. They're interesting because they are a fuel-focused sponsor, I guess kind of representing that Russia is a sort of petrostate, I guess. Anyway, they have a special rover called an RC driller, which can gather underground materials, but it destroys half the deposit's materials, so it's not great unless you absolutely need it. Then we have the concrete plant, which does not require a deposit as well, but uses fuel to produce concrete. Now I can see this being useful for us. We start with the fueled extractor tech. It is a free upgrade, so we just use fuel to get more production, and fuel refineries are cheaper to buy from Earth, but our rockets travel a lot slower. Nothing special in terms of rare metals, research, applicants, so it's going to be a pretty challenging sponsor. I should say on release day, on November 10th, there is going to be a new sponsor introduced with the Ultimate Edition of the game, which would have been awesome to play with, but I don't have access, and I also don't know its difficulty rating, so that might have been moot. Who knows? Now for the rest of this, let's go ahead and breeze through it. We already know we want to play with the Futurist, a hard difficulty mystery, though I will use debug commands to play with all of them, so it doesn't matter which we start with right now. And then for game rules, you know how this works. We want to go to active tectonic plates, restricted footwalk, and then turn on amateurs, Armageddon, dust in the wind, hunger, inflation, long ride, rebel yell, the last arc, twister, winter's coming, and rough terrain, boosting our difficulty rating up to 1050%. Now, I am going to disable our starting colonies. This does make the early game a smidge easier because we will not be competing for milestones, but it also makes the mid-game a lot harder since we have no trading partners if an emergency comes up. And then, as far as founding faction, this is something totally new. If you're not familiar, Surviving Mars Relaunched has a brand new parliamentary politics and law system, which is going to change up how we play the game dramatically. For now, this does not affect our starting challenge, only our starting ideology. And you can go for whatever suits your purposes here. It could be communism, nationalism, environmentalism. I'm just going to go for the guy that focuses on meritocracy, more production, more science. That's kind of the focus I usually go with, so that's fine. For our name, let's go for Provigrad, and move on to our rocket, where I don't want to bring along an RC driller right off the bat. This feels too early to be useful. Instead, I'll take an RC transport to gather up some early metals, and forget the Stirling generator, we'll just take a few extra polymers. Now we turn to map. Now, in the original Surviving Mars, there's only one map location with the absolute maximum difficulty rating. That might still be true here, but it is not the same location. It used to be 41 North and 111 West, which would bring us to a 1205% challenge rating. But if I were to move just a little further away to, let's say, 36 North and 96 West, we get 5% more. In fact, I found at least 4 or 5 different locations with this difficulty rating. There might be one more that goes above 1210, maybe, but if so, it's a needle in a haystack, and I have not found it. So for us, we're going to be playing on 41 North and 41 East for a whopping challenge rating of 1,210%. Let's begin. And here we go. Now, of course, I've done a little bit of scouting on this map seed ahead of time because you kind of have to do that on maximum difficulty with only one probe. And if you've watched these series before, you know there's a handful of things I'm looking for. You really want to find a vista, which we can use for extra comfort rating for our colonists to boost up our birth rate, since that's going to be the biggest bottleneck of the game. We're also looking for an early concrete deposit, and then some overground metals. You have to have those on your first shot, or you're pretty much going to get stuck. From there, ideally you find a metals deposit and a water deposit nearby. You can live without either, but it's kind of map dependent. If there's no water, you need to buy more moisture evaporators. If there's no metals, you need to have a lot of above ground metals sitting around. In my case, I know there's a vista over here and here. Both are okay, but have no above ground metals, and only this side has concrete. Down over here, there is going to be a vista with some concrete, but no nearby metals or water. So the only good option I could really think of here is up in this corner, right in this direction. There's metals, there's concrete, a vista over here. No water around, though, is going to be a major problem. But we're going to have to make do with what I've got in this location. So let's go ahead and place down our rocket. Right around here should be fine. Now, I will say I am making use of a mod that I wrote up for the game. It's called Gotta Go Fast, and it increases the game speed from 1, 3, and 5 times up to 1, 5, and 15 times, which I think makes the game a little bit easier to play with. Anyway, let's go ahead and unload the drones. Now, what are the first things we're going to do? Well, we're going to go to our research, and we're going to pick up our Earth-Mars initiative for a little bit of extra passive science. And then I also want to go for the Explorer AI, so that when I get an Explorer, we'll get even more science that way. Notice, though, we can't outsource, which would usually be one of the first things I do. This is locked behind laws, and I don't have laws yet. So, yeah, we're stuck here, not getting anywhere near as much science as we usually would, and that is definitely going to add a challenge to the game. Anyway, let's go ahead and make use of this massive concrete deposit of 1,700. This is going to last us a very, very long time. Of course, we'll need at least a couple of solar panels in order to power that up. We'll need to have ourselves a battery, and we can go ahead and get started on our fuel production right off the bat with a fuel refinery and our moisture evaporator. Now, I think there's a small number of metals sitting around in this map. There's some right there, 11, okay. That's kind of what I'm looking for. We need to have a little bit of metal in order to build all this stuff up. So let's go ahead and gather up what we can using my RC transport to save some time. And that's basically all I have to work with. All right, so welcome to something new in the game. The Earth Council is ready to convene for the first time. This is made up of not only our founding faction, but our sponsor and a couple of other sponsors as well. Why is Paradox Interactive showing here, but it's not in the... Whatever, it's fine. It's fine. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, this is your new parliamentary system. Right now, our faction holds basically half of the seats. These guys can all vote for various different laws that you can pass in order to make your colony better in some way. But not all of them have the same agenda, and you want to make as many happy as possible in order to boost up their support so they'll continue passing your other laws. For example, maybe I would like to get some extra rewards whenever we complete a milestone. What could this law be? Well, it could be a lot of things. We could go for extra applicants, extra exports of rare metal prices, some more funding, or some more research. Personally, I'm kind of leaning toward getting the extra research. Would this be worth voting right now? It's a fair chance it passes. We could negotiate with other factions and say, hey, we'll do something you like in order to get your support. So for example, I'm already working on the Earth-Mars initiative. That's fine. Let's guarantee that vote passes, and bada boom. So now every time we complete a milestone, I get just a little bit more science. Which is important because some of these are going to be done fairly early in the game, finding water, scanning anomalies, and so on. So that can end up being pretty helpful for us, we'll see. Now with my very last metal, and I literally have only like one left, I'm going to use that to build up my sensor tower so we can start exploring some of the nearby areas. We need to find more metals that I can bring back. That's going to be a huge hindrance for us early on. And now we just sort of sit back and wait. I need to start producing that fuel. I need more concrete. I need to find metals. There's not a lot else we can do except pray that we don't get hit by a meteor this early in the game. Now remember, we could also toss in the fueled extractor here, which would give me 30% more production, so long as we have fuel. That'll be true when it gets to like metal extractors, water extractors, and so on. So fuel becomes a pretty nice resource for us as Russia, because we'll be able to use that to make everything a little bit stronger. if I want to. For now, we'll just go ahead and start filling up the rocket with some fuel. Now, I've already scanned a couple areas over here. We did find a fair number of metals over here, plus one of those vistas. So that's good. Let's go ahead and make use of our RC transport to simply create a transport route, gather up all metals you see in this area, drop them off over here. Found some rare metals over here, plus a few more metal deposits. Yeah, this is why I picked this area. There's no water nearby, but it meets most other criteria for me. We've got to move pretty quickly here, though. Remember, every single building that's out here in the world has a maintenance cost. The longer this runs, the more we're going to use up some of our precious materials, like our polymers, machine parts, electronics, and so on. So we don't want to sit around and waste. We don't want to overbuild. We don't want to sit around. We've got to keep things moving. Legislative section is now open for another law to get passed. Now, not all of your laws will be able to pass immediately if you set them up. Some of them require preparation. So for example, if I wanted to have some extra rewards for exploring sectors, we could do that. But it's not going to happen immediately. What we'd have to do is prepare the law, and next time the council is in session, we can pass this. Now, this is tempting to me because the idea of getting some extra funding and or research every time we scan a sector is very good for the early game, especially the research. Like, that's so good that I feel like we have to go down this route. Other options exist, though. If we wanted to go for, let's say, increase the amount of waste rock that we are going to have in order to get faster production from our extractors. Or we want to have the heavy workload, also known as overtime. If you want to outsource our research, blah, blah, blah. All this is going to be an option. I'm going to go for the exploration here, though. That means in 3 cycles, I should be able to do another vote, and then we can try to get a bit of extra stuff. Now, I don't really want to scan any more than I absolutely have to. So I'm going to scan this over here just so I can discover a water deposit and finish a milestone. That gets me a boost of science. But aside from that, I'm not going to scan anything else out. I want to pass that law. By the way, let's go to our resupply here. I want to do a supply pod, which costs a bit of money. We can get ourselves an RC Explorer, and I also want to get an RC Commander. Plus, we'll probably want more moisture vaporators since we don't have water, and we'll need some more fuel refineries. The problem here is Russia is that I really don't have a whole lot of money to work with, so like, this is kind of gonna be tough. Like, we really don't have the funds to just buy everything I want. In fact, the question is, can I forego getting more fuel production for a while? Am I okay with waiting a little bit? The fuel production is nice because the faster you can get your rocket launched, the faster you can start bringing colonists back from Earth, but obviously, we don't have the materials in order to get a dome built up quite yet. Plus, we're kind of far away from this vista here. I think we probably can afford to get one more fuel refinery and a moisture vaporator to go along with it. I think overall we're going to need this. It just makes sense as Russia. Worst come to worst, I'll use it to boost up my concrete extractor so that we will be able to get a bit more production a little bit faster. Let's place down these supply pods. Always keep them far away from your stuff. You don't want to kick up a lot of dust. Also, the good thing about having these pods is they do get to be scrapped into a small amount of metals. So if you're completely out of everything, that can sometimes help save you. A few more metals to gather up in this direction. Let's go ahead and work on that. Interestingly, I have not yet found any anomalies to scan, which is a little surprising. I'm not sure where all of them are. I didn't want to sit around and like cheat too much in the game scouting out this seed. I just wanted to find a good spawn point that I can maybe make work. But I don't know where everything is here. A lot of this is still going to be the same discovery for me as it would be for you. First research is complete, by the way, so that's the Earth-Mars initiative done. That gets me a little bit more science, 50% more for now. I'm also going to take this faction opportunity, a way of getting the initiative to approve of me a little bit more. Research the Explorer AI tech. I'm kind of working on that right now. We don't have a lot of time to finish it, but I think I'm about to get a nice boost of some science from my milestones. Let's find out if that's true in just a second. Wait, where's the water? Did I miss? Oh no, I think the water deposit's right here. I missed! Okay, go scan it. It's fine, I found an anomaly. That's just as good. We'll send the Explorer over here and pick this up. It does the same thing for me. That's also a milestone. It's fine, we still have plenty of time to research this. We're gonna be just fine, not even really worried. Here comes our next legislative session. So this is where we're gonna go to our sponsor relations and say, hey, could you maybe boost up my research a bit so I can scan and get a lot more of science? Like, really, this is going to be a lot. Scan 5 sectors? Oh, good. That's a whole outsource. Done. But it saved me all the money. I should be able to get this to pass. Yeah, there we go. No problem. Okay, with that out of the way, now we want to scan everything around me. And in fact, if we have the metals and electronics to spare, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just go ahead and start getting myself some of these extra sensor towers to speed that process up. Remember, as the futurist, these do not require any power or maintenance, so we're not going to waste a lot of electronics by having a bunch of these. By the way, there's our milestone done, so we got 500 science. I think you usually get, am I wrong that you usually get 250? I think. So it might have actually doubled how much we get out of that. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. It is in fact doubled. Okay, so my memory serves correctly. That's not insignificant, especially since we have no outsourcing. We can launch our rocket now, by the way, which is a good position for us to be in, but right now it's functioning as a maintenance-free drone commander. So we're just going to let that do its thing. Speaking of commanders, not a bad idea to go ahead and start doing a bit of landscaping, especially to get access to some different areas of the map, get some ramps built up. Why? Because you never know if there's going to be like a breakthrough or some other metals or something you discover as you continue scanning, and it would be nice to be able to just go gather those up. So maybe I want to just place a ramp like this. It's going to take a little while, but we'll get this thing set up, and then we'll be able to move around across the map a little bit easier. Explorer AI tech will finish just barely in time, by the way. Thank you. Now we're up to 400 science per soul passively. What else would make sense for me to get right now? Well, I don't have any benefit from having, let's say, extra productivity from different specialists. With all of our different hard mode options here, we're not going to have any specialists, so I'll skip that. Wind turbines actually will be useful at some point. Drones and rovers moving faster can be nice. Yeah, I don't mind going ahead and just grabbing a few of these things, just boosting up some nearby efficiency. Rocket cargo space can be useful if we're going to go back and forth a lot. We're not immediately, but if I can get some early passenger tech, that would be awesome. In fact, I'd love to go down more of these engineering techs until we were able to get passenger rockets for more people. But, I mean, the problem with that is you have to go really far down the tree. It's going to cost, like, lots and lots of science. I don't know. Going down engineering techs is not a bad thing, for sure. It's just a very big investment, and until I have outsourcing, I don't think it's a very good investment. And I really don't have much money for outsourcing anyway, if I'm completely honest. Like, we're poor, all right? Don't get it twisted. We are dirt poor. Oh, good, an electrostatic dust storm that's going to shut down a bunch of my stuff already. Yay! Found ourselves a breakthrough anomaly over here. These can be game changers if we're very, very lucky. They did change up how breakthroughs work in this game, though. So it used to be you got one totally random thing, and sometimes it was amazing, sometimes it was awful, and you would cry. Now what you're about to see is we have a choice between 3 different options, which means the odds of getting something really useful are greatly improved. So the question is here, do you want to have eternal fusion? Fusion reactors don't require workers and operate very, very well. Holy crud, that's going to be mid-game power. Or we could go for the terraforming device, or we could go for a Soylent Green. Funny thing is, I honestly don't even know if this is a horrible thing because it would slightly reduce the impact of cold waves, dust storms, and so on. But it wouldn't eliminate them, not at this stage. Soylent Green is, you know, usually pretty good, but for me, I actually don't think we need it. We're going to go for Eternal Fusion. In the long run, I think that's going to be the right call. You will see why Soylent Green is not as useful later, all right? It used to be that I would send all my retired off to the Bengal fields, and they would just go away. Now, things have changed. Retired are a little bit more useful than they used to be. Let's go ahead and see what else we can do as far as some laws. Increased sponsor research could be good. I mean, I know I want to go for that outsourcing. It's just, it's so expensive, I'm not sure I can afford it. Another 100 right off the bat? Sure, that's okay. Now we're up to 500 science per soul. Is it good? No. But is it the best I can do right now? Yep. Here comes the dust storm. That's going to shut all my stuff down. Okay, so we might as well just, like, burn through the battery, but all of this can just go ahead and turn off. We can't do anything anymore. We're completely out of action, which sucks on so many levels, but what can you do? 50 new applicants available on Earth from this anomaly. You know, that's not the worst thing in the world. We only get one rocket. Only one rocket of colonists, and that is it. So having the best picks possible does improve my likelihood of winning. Oh, good, we also have a meteor storm starting in a soul. Good God. All right, the game's really deciding to mess with me here already. It did not take long, did it? Fickle economics. The price of machine parts will be increased by 100% in 5 souls. You're kidding me. Does it come back down? Or does it stay that way forever? Because if it stays that way forever, then I probably need to buy some machine parts now, because that is usually something you're going to need to buy at least once. So I'm going to go ahead and buy some. That cost me a lot of money. I'm hoping that this is not the wrong call, but we know we're going to need machine parts in order to get all of our other factories and stuff running once we do have our population. So I'm okay with doing this just to hedge my bets, even though it costs me 25% of my money. Dude, this is rough. We're starting with almost nothing here. I mean, it's not the same as my buddy Ambiguous Amphibian trying to beat the game with literally $0, but like, it's it's friggin' tough, dude. We have not got a lot to work with here. What do we get from this anomaly? Let's see. We can go for funding or more applicants. Ooh. I did just say applicants are good, but the odds of getting something like a genius are extremely low, if not impossible. I'm kind of thinking $500 million makes up for the bad event, and maybe could save my bacon later on. Maybe. I am loving the extra research we're getting from scanning right now, by the way. That actually pairs up kind of nicely with the Futurist. It's not enough to make up for the penalties we're having, but it's helping. Another legislative session. What else do we want here? Sensor towers can do more. Let's see. Double the rate at which they do scanning. Faster rockets. Science output of buildings in an area around sensor towers is increased. Really? I don't remember this being a thing. That's interesting. So sensor towers can be incredibly useful for terraforming and for research. Huh. So eventually we're going to want to have this around all of our domes. Very, very interesting. Okay. Well, for now, I'm just going to go for the extra scanning speed. I think that's going to be fine because that effectively is more science and potentially more resources for now. But yeah, that's going to be very, very good. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my concrete extractor, by the way. Yeah, it's going to consume some fuel. It's fine. And since I'm sitting around with not much to do, we should think about what we want to do for domes. We don't have to actually build it yet, but we should think about it. Don't have access to things like self-sufficient domes. Not yet. That takes a long time to get to. A microdome would be the safe option for now. Does not consume much in the way of life support. But I'd like to go for the basic dome if I can get enough polymers together, because this will last me a lot longer, and I do have a vista nearby. So if I were to build something like over here, this could be pretty okay. I don't know. I think I want to go for the basic dome. I may have to buy some polymers and it costs me money, but I think it's better in terms of long-term efficiency. The only problem with placing the dome over here is that we will not be able to make use of the underground metal source over here. To do that, I would have to construct some trains. Now, trains are a thing still in Surviving Mars Relaunched. In fact, one of the cool things about this version of the game is all of the prior DLCs are wrapped up into this game, right? You don't have to have everything separate. That means you have the underground, you've got asteroids, you've got trains, you've got some special buildings. It's all there. Everything we get in Surviving Mars from here on out is going to be entirely new content. You don't have to pay for the old stuff. So trains are very useful, and we should make use of them. In fact, I could do the same thing if I want to get access to underground rare metals later. What else can we do as far as laws, by the way? Let's go ahead and go for building codes, get this prepared. This would reduce the cost of all buildings by 10% for concrete and metals. That can go a long way when you're desperate. Now I'm fishing down some technology over here because I do want to start thinking about how we're going to get our colonists. But in order to get a good set of colonists and feel satisfied with that, I really want to find the farming tech. And so far, it looks like that is buried down in the biotech tree a little bit. For those who don't know, the way that this game works is there are several different rows in the text that are all kind of in groups. So you have, like, let's say the first 4 are group 1, then you have the next 4 are group 2, and so on, as you get all the way down here. Within a group, the text can be shuffled as far as where they are located. So sometimes you're going to get, let's say, fuel compression as your first tech, as we did here. Other times it might be number 4 or 5. So if you're looking for a specific tech, you might get lucky and find it really early. You might have to dig a little bit, but it can only ever be so far down the tree. Now, if we were playing as, Chaos Theory or one of the other game rules, it could be very randomized, and then we could actually get sunk. Sometimes you get lucky, and you find things like moisture vaporators very early on, and sometimes you find things like, your basic science are way too far down the tree to be practical. So, yeah, there's just something to be aware of. There's the machine part increase, by the way. All right, so that's a thing now. Hooray! Let's get those building codes passed. Shouldn't be an issue. Everyone is quite happy at the moment. And my question is, does that reduce the cost of domes? Probably not. We can double check this real quick. It did! Oh, okay. So we've saved ourselves a little bit of metal and concrete here. Not a lot, but every little bit counts. Whoa. By the way, I just saw a little twister spawn right here. Pay attention to those. If little sand cyclones, dust devils sort of show up here, that might mean, maybe, that it is a common spawn location. Doesn't always happen that way, but there does seem to be a bias. Like, I see some down over here, and I think, okay, we may have a bunch spawn over here, gotta be careful. If that happens, the easiest way to get around that is to either spend some concrete building landing pads, right? And that means that if a dust devil goes over it, it just goes away. They'll also break if they hit a dome, or, for free, you can just place down these dumping sites, and that should be enough to despawn it. Faction opportunity. Build a dome within the next 5 souls. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna try for it. It's not gonna hurt me that much if I fail. We'll only lose like 2 seats approval, but like, we should try. I bet you I could do this. Oh wait, I'm doing it right now. I bet you we can do this in the next few souls. Hey, let's go ahead and get myself some of those polymers we were talking about. I need like a bit. Maybe 20 is fine for now, and a little bit of electronics. Yeah, bring those all in. There's the polymers, boom. Okay, so we've got enough to kind of get started. I mean, I've got a halfway decent amount of concrete and metals. Like, there's no reason we couldn't build the dome if we want to. It's just a matter of how much longer do I feel like I need to wait before I bring my colonists. Now, some of your mission sponsors are going to have something here. It's like, bring colonists within the first 30 souls, or whatever. I don't have one of those as Russia. I could take my time, but remember, the longer we play without bringing anybody, the longer we go without producing our own polymers, machine parts, and so on, eventually we're going to run out of gas. Good God, by the way, the game is just not giving me farms. Why? Why are you like this? Well, one more thing I know I'm going to want before we have to worry about the colonists is I need more water. So 2 more moisture vaporators I think are non-negotiable. This brings me below $1 billion. And by the way, I guess I didn't mention, all of your laws have an upkeep cost to them. So the more laws we pass, the more expensive this is going to get. At some point, this will actually become a problem. Knowing that's the case, it's kind of difficult for me to say for sure if I do want to take any additional laws yet. We can prepare laws and not use them, and that is okay. One thing I know I will want is Mars Appreciation. Vistas will give a bigger bonus to the dome, means, guess what? Higher birth rates. Very useful to me. For now, let's prepare the law for a heavy workload. I'm not going to maintain it, I'm just going to be ready to vote on it. Do you see how the laws are already kind of changing things up? Like, it's not just arbitrarily locking some stuff, like we've gotten a few power-ups from the laws so far as well. Laws are useful. It's just they come with pros and cons, and it's going to get a lot more complicated once we have humans on Mars, let me tell you. Like, you think this is a little bit more complicated, just you wait. Henry Higgins, just you wait. It gets a heck of a lot harder. I do think we're going to go ahead and start prepping for colonists now, though. So let's get some power set up over here. I had a drone prefab so we can get the hub set up and ready to go. And if that's done, let's go ahead and launch the rocket now. That's going to be worth another milestone, I believe. Yep, there we go. Okay, so that takes care of another one there. Gain 2,000 science. Learn a bit more about dust storms, I guess. Okay. There's the farm, finally. Good lord. And we should definitely learn about subsurface heating early on, too. Would be absolutely atrocious if we got our colonists and then immediately died to a cold wave, now wouldn't it? Ooh, we just got a really useful event here. Heirloom. Okay. So an old friend and teacher has passed away and sent me a strong box, and I can choose which 3-letter password gets us in. Depending on what you choose, that determines a free breakthrough technology. I'm trying to remember exactly what they do. I think this affects, was it fungal farms? I'm fairly certain that's correct. I think this one is superior cables and pipes, which is very good. This, I think, is plasma rockets, and this one is nano refinement, I believe, which means your extractors continue getting a small amount of materials even when the deposit is gone. Plasma rockets are pretty good. I'm going to go for the superior cables and piping, assuming that I'm right on this. Yes, I am. Okay, so we got both of those breakthroughs. That's going to be amazing for us. Why? Because once these are researched, I can place down cables and pipes for free instantly at any point, and they don't leak. Which means when we have dust storms and stuff, we're never going to have faults that cost us all of our precious power and life support. These are huge on the maximum difficulty. They help a lot. They're not strictly required. They're just really good. Dome is just about ready to go up, by the way, so this will be completed on time by Sol 20. We have our first dome, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. It's beautiful. I love it. We have no life support for it. We should fix that. A few things we know we're going to want. Both of our moisture evaporators, for one, because the people will consume water, so will the farms. We'll also need just one Moxie. That should be plenty. Plus, we'll want to have an oxygen tank and a water tower for sure. I will also need more power, probably more power storage as well, with another accumulator over here. We don't benefit from having these on yet, so I'm okay with turning some of this off. And then inside the dome, we need a few things. I need to get myself some residences for our people, obviously. We don't have access to apartments, but that's fine. We honestly don't want them quite yet anyway because they're not as comfortable as a simple living complex. I'm trying to remember how many people we can take on our rocket. Yeah, 12 seats in total. Okay, so one living quarter will be enough for now. We'll need to leave room for a second. And then as far as services, generally speaking, I like to have a diner, a grocer, and an infirmary. Why is my phone now telling me what an infirmary is? I did not turn on Google search. Well, that's creepy. Anyway, you might be wondering, why do you do the grocer and the diner? I do find oftentimes that your people are going to need a second source of food in case one gets filled up. Not always true. The other alternative is to go for the small space bar, which is not bad, but offering drinking early could just be setting yourself up for problems with mental breaks. I don't know. It's really kind of hard to say. I think you could skip the grocer in favor of the small space bar if you want to. We don't need a security post yet. We could build an open-air gym, but that costs a lot of polymers. Not sure that's going to do what I want. We will want to get ourselves a polymer factory, though. That is for sure. All I really feel like I'm missing at this point is just going to be some simple farms, which we now have access to. Okay. So, let's get that set up real quick. And then between residences, basic services, factories for polymers, farms for food, we have oxygen, we have water, we've got metals, sort of. We've been finding a bunch anyway. We have lots of concrete, we've got fuel. This is actually a pretty solid start for us on maximum difficulty. We've even survived a couple of natural disasters already and come out just fine. I think we're in good shape. This is a good start. We finished the drone phase of the game. So in the next video, we're going to get ourselves our passengers, our lucky 12, that are going to be the founders of a whole new subset of humanity. Thank you all very much for watching this first video in a new series for Surviving Mars Relaunched. And once again, a big thank you to Paradox for the sponsorship. This is going to be awesome. If you guys want to check out the game for yourself or maybe give it a purchase and support my channel at the same time, you can find that link in the description down below. Otherwise, please consider hitting that like button. It really does help boost up engagement. Leave a comment with your ideas or suggestions and subscribe for the future videos. And I will see you next time.